Make a bold statement with your next wardrobe piece from Lily Rose Boutique. This mother-daughter team is bringing you new arrivals with dresses, jackets, vests, skirts, layering tops, and extenders. And you can check them out right now at lilyroseboutique.shop and use our code HelloAwesome15 for 15% off the next amazing item in your wardrobe. K&K Boutique is your one-stop shop for all things modest fashion for you and the little lady in your life. They also have designs that you guys can match. Check out their tops, their bottoms, their flowy dresses, all on their website, kkboutique21.com, and use our code HelloAwesome for 15% off. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hello Awesome podcast. I have Khristian today, and I'm so excited. We finally met in person at NAYC, and I just loved our chat, and it really just felt like I was meeting an old friend. But welcome to the podcast. Before we get into it, can you just share with everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Khristian Sincell. I'm known on Instagram as Khristian Girl. I'm 21 years old and a new graduate nurse. I just passed my boards. I loved meeting you at NYC. I did actually come home and I told my mom about it. And she actually told me that she has been listening to you since you first started. So I think I was 14. But yes, and I told her about our conversation, and I told her about how just you were so encouraging, and I aspired to be as encouraging as you, because it just flowed out of your mouth, and that was amazing, and you don't meet very many people like that, so thank you for that.
Well, you're very sweet, and hi, Mom. I just can't help it. I grew up in a very positive home. My mom always told me, don't say you can't. I don't want to hear that word in my house. So I try to be. I know people that are close to me know a little bit more complicated relationship with me. But I feel like we need that more. I just feel like we're so hard on ourselves already. And I'm such a word of affirmation person. I don't know what your love language is, but I like to receive words of affirmation. It kind of builds me up, and I'm a words person, so I tend to gift that out, give it out. And most of the time it's good. But yeah, so you are mostly known for showing up online with your modest fashion. And I know that we've talked about this in the past together, just privately, because that's not easy to do. And I think what's awesome is you're seeing more and more people share their modest journey. But a while back, it wasn't like that. There was only a couple of people doing it. And I know for me, when there were things that God wanted me to share online, I didn't see anybody doing it. And so I started questioning, oh, can I do this? Is it even possible? Would people even care? Even with this podcast. But I really want to know, how did it start with you sharing modest fashion online?
So I started when I was about 15, and honestly, this was not the path I had envisioned for myself, mainly because the world is a dangerous place. But it all started whenever I didn't know it, but these boutiques were messaging my mom, and they were asking her to let me do things for them in their clothes. And because of the state of the world, my mom was like, no, because she didn't want to put me out there, understandably so. And then one place just kept messaging her about it, and she kept saying no. But then an evangelist actually came to church, and he had told me that a lot of attention was about to come to my life and that I shouldn't be afraid of it. I didn't know what he was talking about, but he said some other stuff, and whenever I went back and I told my mom, she automatically was like, that must be the Lord telling me, I need to let this happen. And then the lady messaged her one more time and just said that the Lord kept drawing her back. And then my mom said yes, and here we are today.
Ah, God bless praying mamas. Um, and I think a lot of misconceptions about those of us who show up on social media is that we take it lightly and we just kind of like nonchalantly post. And I think there's something for just having fun and not taking yourself too seriously. But for the majority of the people, you included, that I've talked to who share stuff online, they've really taken time to pray about it, and they are very intentional about what they're doing. And it reminded me of some of the challenges that I had, and maybe you have had when you began. So, what were some of those challenges that you faced when you began to show up and when you were trying to be modest online, you're trying to be a positive influence on social media? What were some of those challenges for you?
Well, when I first started, Instagram wasn't about getting all these followers and likes. It was me genuinely just people sending me clothes, and then I would do the pictures and the content for it. But now that everything has gotten more serious, I think one of the bigger challenges that I've had to face, and I know other people have had to face, is just the like hateful comments that people will say. Um, Before I did take it lightheartedly, and because I mean, you got to remember that these things people are saying about me, that's not at all what God says about me, and people are going to get convicted, and people don't like it when they get convicted, so they'll attack you. And so now I've had to kind of be more serious about it since everything that's happened with my losing my old account and getting the new account.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the biggest challenge is just not letting stuff get to your head. And
Hmm.
now I saw this quote and it was very true. It said that we need to just start praying every morning, Lord, get in my head before I get in my head. Because the things people will say, it will sit there and make you look at yourself and start to think about yourself like, am I really this way? Am I being prideful whenever I do all this? Even though I'm doing it for God? Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's the hard part.
Yeah, and you were really young. You were 15 when you started. And so it was like that second end of the teenage years for you, having to navigate that just in real life, your emotional changes, hormonal changes, all those things. And then also seeing these comments, and you've seen me in your comments like, come on. Try not to be, too defensive, but I am very protective over some of my people. And but when you do understand that a lot of it's ignorance, a lot of it is from a place of lack of knowledge of who God is. And so when they see you and they get offended, they're not really offended at you. They're almost offended at God, and that you would actually take such a strong stance in your faith. And I'm wondering if you've ever felt that way as well.
I have. And another great thing about God, God is just awesome because when I get these comments, now if it's something too bad, I'm like, be blocked and be blessed. I'll just get them off.
Yeah.
And God has always sent somebody that has defended me. And it will be somebody I don't know. It'll be somebody who they might not even be the same religion as me. Because I'm always careful about how I respond to people because I know that when they say certain things, they want to see how we react.
Yeah.
They want to see if we keep our cool, if we're still acting godly. So most of the time, I won't even give it another thought. I'll just let them say it. And God has always sent somebody who's just like really just took up for me, and I have felt blessed by that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think because my content is different than yours, but I have found a lot of people say mean things or pointed things to see how we react. And I have to be really careful because my natural instinct is to be a fighter. You know where they say fight or flight? I'm not running away. I'm gonna square up. That's just how I'm raised. It's just how I'm built. And I'm learning to do that with the Lord, in the right way. But I was thinking about this actually. This is the last week about like Peter, in the Bible, and he's quick to defend Jesus, and he has that sword swinging, and Jesus is telling him no, like you're reading this situation wrong. And we want to do that because it feels so good at the time, but we don't realize that it could be it could be harmful to our witness. It could be hurtful to their view of God. And a lot of it's coming from probably a place of hurt. Maybe somebody, has hurt them in the past. So we don't know all that's going on. And we want to sometimes wrestle in the mud in the comments. But sometimes it's better to, like you said, block, be blessed. Sometimes I delete comments. Sometimes I keep comments up if I see that it's a cordial discourse. It's okay if you're having disagreements as long as you're respectful. But yeah, when it comes to like the mean, nasty stuff, like that's what the delete button is for. That's what the block button is for. Um, you don't have to like endure all of this and keep it on your page if you don't want to, especially like if we have younger people or people following us and we don't want them to be influenced by those sort of comments. So,
And I really had to like pray about it because the keyboard warrior in me really wanted to come out.
yeah.
And but one of my mama, because my mom's like, don't talk about my kid. But I had to really, really pray about it because even right before I got my account taken down, there were people saying some like horrible things, and I would be in class and I would see where the notifications would pop up on my phone while I was trying to write down notes, and I had to like start just put my phone on do not disturb because that would get me in a horrible mood in class. I felt like I couldn't learn because I was worrying about what people were saying, and I was like, I don't want people to think that about me. But it really took some praying, and certain comments I'd leave up if they weren't that bad, and some people would respectfully be like, I know what you believe and what you're doing, and this is why I don't. And then there are some people who are just like, you're absolutely a horrible human being, and I'm like, no, you know what? We could be nicer, be
Yeah.
blocked and blessed.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked about the getting the notifications coming up and how that was distracting or hurtful for you because I found that out early too. That I don't have any notifications now. I used to in the past, but I don't have any notifications that pop up on my phone from any social media. I have to physically go into the app to look at, my status or whatever notifications I have. And I think that's just like, and then you said putting your phone on do not disturb. There's so many tools there whether it's the block, delete, mute notifications. We really have to use that for our mental health. It's not going to be good to constantly have those coming at you. And even if it was positive, to be honest, if you're just seeing notification every day, oh, you're awesome, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you're good, it's like, ooh, you start getting a little inflated. That's also the opposite. um, but but yeah, I think we have to learn how to implement those tools and it's okay to put you're not a weak Christian if you can't handle mean comments. You're human. They're mean. They're not it doesn't feel good. And you're human for wanting to react, but putting those in place will help you. Um yeah, I started following you through your original account and then you lost it. And I remember being so heartbroken for you and a lot of people rallying around you. You want to talk a little bit about how that happened or what happened?
So honestly, it happened literally out of nowhere. I came home from a clinical, and my account was there. Everything was fine. I had been on it like at points during the day, like talking to people and stuff. And then I had gotten ready for bed, and then my mom texted me and was like, your account's gone. And I was like, no way. Maybe you just can't find it. Please don't let this be real. And I got on there and it popped up that my account was permanently suspended. And I never got a reason why. I tried contacting people. My mom tried contacting people while I was in class. And the only thing it would tell me was that my account didn't follow the community guidelines and standards. So I had a good cry about it because I felt like everything I had worked for, all the memories that came with it, because that wasn't just a business account. At one point, that was my first Instagram account at all. So it had memories from me and my siblings whenever I was like really young. And so I lost it all. And I felt really discouraged and disheartened. And I remember telling my mom, Mom, I feel like the man in the Bible that built his house on the sand and it's all gone. And I was just devastated. And if it weren't for my mom, I might not have even been able to do it again, because I told her, I was like, I'm in my last semester of nursing school. There's so much going on. And I was like, I don't even know if we can get back to where we were. And my mom was the one that picked me up, dusted me off, said, if this is God, what God wants you to do, you can do it. And there's a reason for everything. This could be a testimony. And my mom has really been the one that's pushed me to keep going, because people can be rude, and like not even just people on Instagram, people in your own life. You'll realize that doing this stuff, and I've even seen Myron Weidman Jr. post about it. People will clap for others doing the exact same thing that you are doing. They'll clap for the stranger, but they won't even acknowledge you. And not that I wanted acknowledgement, but it was really disheartening whenever they would talk about other people doing it. And then me, it was like, who cares? And so that was pretty hard.
Yeah.
But my mom would always be the one just saying, I'm proud of you. And she, even whenever I was in nursing school, she filled in the gaps. And while I was trying to study and I was worrying about getting these assignments in, getting these exams done, and doing precepting hours in my last semester, my mom was like, I like the way this looks. I think you should style this way. I think this would be a good idea for a reel to do. And the Lord really did bless us during that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt like after I restarted my account, because it was just one night, got my cry over with. I was at work the next day and I restarted the account at work. But I felt like I was having like a whole like Forrest Frank and Corey Asbury ordeal going on. But I had, even whenever I restarted, another setback was religious people, like people who knew me, super religious people, were posting my stuff and saying horrible things. Like, I only had like probably 5 posts up, and they were reposting those things and saying just such mean things, and like acting like I was self-conceited and stuff. And like, that's not at all who I am. I had gotten to a point, and my mom told me, she's like, you're gonna have to stand up for yourself now, just because of what's happened. And usually I just let people say stuff and go on, but at one point I did have to be like, if you're going to repost me and bash me, I'm gonna have to tell people that everything that's in the dark is gonna come to light, and I'm gonna have to share it. Somebody's gonna have to be a lesson. And the Bible does say to be angry and sin not. So I wasn't sinning, but I was telling people that you cannot just do this. I'm a person too. I have feelings. And it even went as far as one woman, she messaged me about it, like, because she had posted me and said some things, and I reposted that. I was at work, and I just went to my own room, and I was like, this can't be happening, guys. And after a while, she messaged me, and she was like, if you don't take that video down, I'm going to get my friends together, and we're going to report you until you lose this account too. And I was just like, how on earth is the Lord in this? Like, It really was. It was really hard. Now it's gotten a lot
Mhm.
better, and the Lord has really like blessed it because in about 7 months, I'm almost at 30,000 followers.
Mhm.
But the whole thing was just crazy. I still don't understand it, but I know God used it for His glory.
Yeah. I think it's hard for people to see Christians having fun and just not being miserable. I feel like there's a lot of projection in that of like, and some jealousy too. There's a lot of things, people really reveal who they are by what they say and what they do. And if if you're spending energy bashing somebody, if you're spending energy literally reposting somebody's account and literally saying the most horrible things, that actually says more about you than it does about the person that you were trying to, take down a notch or something. And I think a lot of the times I've seen is we have a hard time as Christians to like laugh, to have joy. And we see somebody that is lighthearted, that's sharing stuff, like fashion, as somebody that, is not a serious Christian and that maybe has some things going on that they're trying to hide or whatever. And we don't understand that, God is such a good, merciful, loving God. He's also a God of joy. And the Bible talks about laughter, and God has such a sense of humor. Why do you think humor is like important? And even some of yes, you share a lot of, biblical things, and your sound bites are hilarious. The ones you choose to do, um, a lot of them are really funny. But you have some really, powerful ones as well too, especially if it's some of the preaching ones. But the thread is you're showing up reflecting the holiness of God, reflecting your faith, and it can rub people the wrong way. And I think there's this whole new, I guess, I don't know if it's a spirit really, but I think it's just something in society where it's like, oh, if I don't like something, I better tell them. It's like when you don't like a podcast or something or a TV show and you see the comment of like, oh, unsubscribed, or they type in like unfollowing this show now, never watching again. And it's like you hear the phrase like this isn't an airport, you don't have to announce your departure. Like just go. Like why can't we go in peace if we don't like something? The fact that you have to say something actually shows a sense of like superiority where you feel like you have to like put yourself above the person or above whatever it is. Um, but at the same time, I think what keeps us showing up is all the positive things, all the good things. You know, I know for me, and you can share, the Lord has used, some of the content that I've created to bring people to Christ, to rededicate their faith. I get messages from people who have been baptized, who have taught Bible studies, who got filled with the Holy Ghost, who have brought their family and friends into the church from like sharing an episode or whatever. We don't take credit for anything that happens like that. We're a vessel, and it reminds me of the scripture in Matthew that talks about being, a light on a candlestick and not hiding it, being the city on a hill to shine. Who are we supposed to shine for? Shine for Christ. And when you're a city on a hill, the enemy can see you better. When you are a light and you can shine, the darkness doesn't like that. But we have God, and wherever He is, the enemy has to flee. And so we have that to rely on. But I would love for you to share what has been the best thing about showing up online and connecting with people.
Actually, on the last thought, I do actually believe that part of everything, like all the hate and stuff we get on Instagram with people not understanding and stuff, I do think part of that is actually spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about it before until I was cleaning my room and I had my music playing, my Jesus music, and one just it kept repeating, this is spiritual warfare. And I thought about it because back before I lost my account, there were people actually commenting stuff saying that they were praying bad things over me, so that when the bad things happened to me, I would know exactly who did it to them. And I like there were people saying they were praying stuff over my women's district and stuff. And I was like, well, first off, it's covered in the blood, you know. God's got me and God ain't gonna let nothing happen to me. But I do believe a lot of this is a spiritual attack because the enemy knows that this is bringing people closer, and obviously it's the signs of the times are everywhere. And I believe that the devil is really trying to fight right now, and he's trying to knock people's faith. He's trying to get us in our feels. And I know that whenever all this was happening, I told my mom, I was like, I don't feel like I'm myself. I feel like whenever I was reading everything, I never get angry. I was getting angry. I was getting anxious. Like I was like, Mom, I've got this feeling in the pit of my stomach. And my mom was like, well, we got to pray about that. You know, we got to, like, I was trying to spend more time in church. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to come back harder. I'm just going to do more stuff. And I did try to change this Instagram a little bit. And I'm doing more like funny things to get people with the humor and stuff. But I'm also like, like some of the songs I've noticed people will be like, I can't believe you use this song and you're a Christian. And I'm like, well, sometimes you can use that stuff for God's glory. I might not be using like the entire song, but there's certain parts of the song I'm using it for God's glory. Um, but that was something that I feel like it's important for people to pick out is that you have to pray about everything and you got to fast about everything and really pray for a hedge of protection. I think it's important that while you do that stuff, and I'm not using really any of the very trending audios and stuff right now because I think I have realized that like I'll get those stuck in my head. And like I was raised in a household where even the music you listen to is very important. If you can entertain angels unaware, just think of what else you could entertain if you ain't listening to music that glorifies God. And I've noticed a lot of young people now, they don't see it that way because I've talked to people and they're like, well, this song doesn't talk about anything bad, but it doesn't necessarily glorify God either. And it will lead you into this rabbit hole of listening to music that you shouldn't be listening to. And a lot of things I've read about is like certain songs might not be saying stuff, but I've seen where people have actually prayed over those songs that they would make people feel a certain way. And like that, like that freaks me out. That's why I don't like listening to anything that's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very important to realize because now everything's spiritual. It's probably always been, but now it's more visible that everything that happens is spiritually happening.
Yeah. And showing up online, we're giving strangers access to us who would never have access to us. Even if we're, in our living room, people can see what our living rooms look like. If you're posting from your bedroom, people see what your bedroom looks like. That's why you have to be really careful what to share and what not to share. It's really different than it has been ever before because we can be omnipresent, we can be omniscient, we can go into like these little nooks and crannies of people's lives. And not everybody has the best intentions where some of us might be like, oh, that's a cute, curtain you have there, whatever. But other people might be seeing like where you're located, where you go to church, where you go to school, and using it in a demonic type of way. And we're not saying this to scare you, but it is spiritual. There are a lot of people out there who don't have the best intentions. But I think that we have to be prayed up, like you said. And I think, like you were talking about, staying connected to your local church is key. And I understand a lot of us are struggling. Maybe some of us are trying to figure out that, um, to have a family of God that we can belong to. But I am 100% just um, on board and just an advocate for getting connected to your local church, making sure that you have a relationship with your pastor, your pastor's wife, making sure you're connected with the women's ministry in your district. I think that that will help keep you grounded. It will keep you on the rock. It will keep you remembering what our why is, why we do what we do. We do what we do because of the Lord Jesus Christ and that He saved us. And it's about real life, living for God in real life. And social media is not always that. But we need to have a place that we can run to when social media doesn't feel safe, because it's not going to feel safe, because it's out of our hands, right? But we need a safe place. We need a church to go to when offline. You need a body. Um, of believers who are like-minded that can wrap their arms around you, who know you. Even if people, like you said, that are close to you don't understand, pray and ask the Lord to send you people who will understand, who will advocate on your behalf in the spiritual realm, not just in the physical realm or here. And I have just such a deep appreciation for those who I know in my real life who champion what God is doing, and people don't see that online, and that's okay. It's not for that, but I know that if they come to me is something that I'm doing and they want to correct me, I know it's from a good place, and it's not just a rando in my comments section, right?
Like me and my siblings are. I have an older brother and an older sister, and we were all raised to do literally everything in church. So I'm like, if anything needs done in church, I'll do it to the best of my ability. But I honestly can say that I am so grateful that my parents had raised us that way. We didn't do sports and stuff because people are always crazy in sports. But I was in every play. I did music. I've done photography. I'm even now like on my district's praise team and stuff. I've just done everything I could, and I never realized it until like I got in to nursing school how impactful that was, because they had us doing something called mindfulness. And obviously we don't meditate and stuff. I meditate on the Lord.
Yeah.
So like while they were trying to meditate, I was like praying. But I guess they did it to de-stress us. Um, but I realized whenever they told us to think of like our safe place, our happy place, where does our mind go to whenever we're stressed? I sat there and I thought about it, and like I remembered I could almost remember the feeling of just laying on church pews growing up. I remember the smells. I could feel all the textures, and I forgot that that was my safe place, and it's part of the reason why I love the Bible verse, Psalm 91:1,
Yeah.
talking about, they that dwell in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. And I I keep that verse very close and near and dear to my heart, because like I feel like I'm in these storms and stuff from just life, and then I realize that like I'm just not just dark. It's just I'm just in God's shadow. It's not too dark. I'm just in His shadow, and I hope this makes sense. But um, yeah, that's
Hmm.
something very important to remember, is to keep yourself involved in church. And I had to learn at a young age that whenever it came to battles like this, I had to learn to fast, and I had to learn the reason why I fast. Before I used to think, oh, I'm going to fast, and God's going to do this for me because I fast. He's going to be like, oh, you're doing so good. Here you go. And I had to actually learn that whenever I'm fasting, I'm not fasting so He'll do something for me. I'm fasting so that I can look at things through His eyes. I'm getting a spiritual redirection. I might be hungry, but my spirit's being fed.
Yeah.
Um, and I had to learn that at about 16. I was
Mm,
uh, going
yeah.
through a lot. But I think it's important that I wish people would teach on this more to younger people just trying to learn to fast and stuff. Learn.
I think that's, as a mom, I've been thinking about that too. It doesn't always have to be food. I think the Lord wants us to do that as a priority. But we've done it where it's like, we're fasting from screens this week, and it's not fun. But um, once you get over yourself and that, woe is me over something so trivial, you like it's really just teaching kids, like, or anybody really, of why are you doing this? What's the whole purpose of doing this? Is to refocus your mind on the Lord, to refocus your attention on what is important. And I think we do have to do that. And I think that's why, when it comes to what we do, it's so different. Um, as content creators, because we really are kind of put in that spotlight, and people can say like, oh, you complain about it, but you kind of initiated it. But most of us are just following what God wants us to do, and I do believe that He's going to put people in places that are going to be very uncomfortable, because He's going to do work there. It's not just for us, to build us up. And so to fast and to pray is very important. So why don't you share what has been the best thing about showing up online? What has been some positive things that you have seen that maybe help you keep going?
I think actually the best part about it is the friends that I've made, and it's people who I would have never met had it not been for Instagram. There's people who have checked up on me, and while like I might be going through a hard time, and it'll be like boutiques and stuff that have just become really close friends. They'll message and be like, "Hey, I've had you on my mind. I just want to let you know that I'm praying for you," and it it makes me want to cry because I feel so blessed to have these near and dear friends, and some of them will even message me, and it's an honor for them to message me and be like, "Can you pray for me? Can you pray for this situation?" Um, it just really touches you whenever you think about all the people you've made friends with that you might not ever even meet on this side of heaven. Um, I think that's the best part. It's just the relationships and the encouragement that comes with it.
I agree. Like us, look at us.
Yes.
I mean, literally different parts of the country. I'm in the north, you're in the south. We are not, we would have probably not crossed paths in real life unless it was a conference, which happens. But even those things uh, are kind of challenging to get out of your bubble to meet new people. But the Lord really just brings people of like-mindedness, I think, together and just build some friendships that you would have never had before. Um, so why don't you take some time to encourage someone? There is somebody right now who's listening. Maybe they are in their teens, or maybe they're older and they've been thinking about it for a while, but someone who wants to start showing up more. Maybe it is sharing modest fashion, maybe it's sharing something totally different, but they want to start showing up more, but they're feeling very insecure and they're nervous about what it all entails. How would you encourage this person?
Well, first and foremost, always keep God first, and remember to pray about everything, fast about everything. Um, don't make it all about the likes and follows. Be real and genuine, because people can tell like if you're real or fake on your posts. They can tell if you've got a prayer life. They can tell if you don't have a prayer life. Um, they can tell what kind of person you are by how you respond to your comments. If you respond to your comments, how you just have these conversations with people, whether it's showing love or hate. Um, it's important to always encourage and like and comment on other people's posts. Don't just expect everybody to do it to you and not do it in return. Um, People do understand that life gets busy and you can't have these deep conversations in comments and captions and stuff, but it's very important to interact with your followers. And I've always said I'm not here to get followers, I'm here to make friends. Um, Something very important to remember that I think a lot of people forget about is not to compare yourself with others. There's this old quote that says, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I think it's important to remember if we keep comparing ourselves, we can become jealous. And I was raised by a mama who taught us never to be jealous. If she thought we were being jealous, she would like straighten us out real quick. um, she always taught us that if you want to be better and you think they're doing better, work harder. Work harder to be better. You can always do more. Um, it's important to remember that when it comes to these things, and if you get jealous about what people have going on, remember it's not me against you. It's you and I against the devils of this world. We're in this together. Um, Clap for them when stuff happens. It might not be your time yet, but clap for them. And when I think about when we get jealous and stuff, and people look and they're like, "I want that." I don't want people to look at me and want to be me. I want to inspire people. Um, I want to encourage them that, hey, she went and got this and got a degree and everything, and I want to be able to do that. And I want them to be able to know you can do that. Um, it's hard to look and see like other people getting married and stuff, and like I'm not married yet. That's just not my season. And sometimes that really discourages people. But while you're waiting for that, I think it's really important to know that you can work while you wait and you can achieve these goals. And then you're going to meet somebody who wants you to achieve those goals. They want to help you achieve those goals. I think it's important to remember that we are all going to be the same. I love seeing different content. I don't like seeing like 50 accounts that look almost identical. Um, it's important to remember that God didn't give us cookie cutter callings. The beauty of it is the fact that we're all coming from these different points of life, and we're reaching different audiences, and we're all going to get to the same like end game. We're all getting to heaven, and there's going to be people that you're going to reach that I'm not going to be able to reach, and there's going to be battles that you're going to have to fight, and I'm never going to have to fight. There's going to be battles I'll have to fight that some people might never have to fight. And whenever I look at people and I see them doing good, you want to pray for them because you don't know what's got them to the point that they're at. You don't know the cost of my oil. You don't know the cost of the loneliness, the having no friends. You just don't know how that is for somebody. And some people don't think about that. They think that they're just getting handed everything. But I think it's important to stay true to you. Be your unique self. Remember that God made you this special way, and He did it for a reason. He didn't want you to be like everybody else. He has a divine calling set apart just for you. And you got to accept that call. So I think that's what's very important to remember. And sometimes you might try to be funny and offend people. I've done it before. But just, be yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's probably my realm. I've had a few people be offended because I made a joke and it's like, oh my gosh. But anyway, I love that. I loved everything that you said. Especially, people are not going to understand the cost of the oil of what your sacrifice is, of what God is doing, and you just have to keep showing up, keep remembering your why you're doing what you're doing, and trust in him. Trust that he's going to take care of it. So one last question. Well, sort of last question before I have you share where people can follow you on social media if they're not. But what has been the biggest lesson throughout this entire journey?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is not to let my entire identity be social media. I don't think I ever actually let it completely be that, but I learned that as quickly as it started, it can be taken away just as fast. I've learned the more you talk about Jesus and your faith, you will be hated more. Things are going to fight you more. So you can expect to have attacks, not just verbally, but spiritually. Um, but it's important that I realize that no matter what attack comes, I'm gonna show you a pretty dress, but you're gonna hear about Jesus too. I want people to know that modesty is a beautiful thing and godliness is a beautiful thing. God loves that. And I would rather please God before I please anybody else. Um, I don't want to be known as somebody who just flaunts a dress. I want to be known as somebody who shows you that you can be modest and beautiful and glorify God all at the same time. Because I know that one day I will have to stand before God and I will have to tell Him everything I've done. And I hope that He's proud of me. I hope He looks at me and is like, you kept the faith, you didn't waver, and I want Him to be proud of me for that. So, yeah, I want Him to be proud of the platform I've used for Him.
That's good. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you showing up. And I think one of the things that sets your account apart is you do talk about Jesus and you do share your faith. And you'll get a pretty dress, but then you'll get a word too. And I appreciate that so much. So, where can listeners find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok as Christian Girl. Christian with a K.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Christian, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.